Greetings and welcome back to Christian News and Views. This is episode 75 and this is Friday Recap. And so we're going to go back and look at the week that has taken place so far. Uh, Monday, we discussed the trade war. Things were being said in an article that I read to you. A mixture of panic, anger, and uncertainty threatened to rupture a decades-old partnership. These are scare words. These are something that the media throws out there to stir the pot, if you will. Uh, but the truth of the matter is that if they would just back off and let Trump do what he's so good at doing, there would be no reason for panic, anger, and uncertainty. Basically, if people will just look at what he did, and I don't mean with biased eyes, I mean factual eyes, and look what he actually did during his first term, you'd be looking at this not in fear, not in panic or anger or certainly not uncertainty. Um, you'd be looking at it with maybe some hope. Um, uh, we've had 4 years now of when we should have had some panic and definitely anger, and there was a ton of uncertainty. So when we look at Trump and his second term, we get to get a little bit of perspective. We see his first term, and then we see what life was like with Biden as president, and it makes you appreciate the first 4 years of Trump a whole lot more. And so those kinds of statements of panic, anger, and uncertainty do not apply to the Trump administration in the past, and I don't believe it's going to uh, apply to the current administration. In fact, I think I'm looking forward to it. Am I going to always agree with what Trump does? Of course not. I reserve my right to disagree. The thing is, though, I will probably agree far more often than not. Some of his decisions will be different than what I would think. I don't classify Donald Trump as a pure conservative. He's more of what I would call a populist. And populists has their wings just like the other parties have wings. They have the liberal wing and the conservative wing. And he leans to the conservative. But there are some ideas that he may have that I would not necessarily favor. When you elect somebody, you elect them with the knowledge that you're not going to always agree with them. You elect them because you like the overall picture of that person. You like in the case of Trump, the fact that we can trust him, that he is a man of his word. Now, you may not like different aspects of Trump, but the thing is, I think if you're honest, when he has said, I'm going to do this, he has at the very least, tried to do it. Now, everybody who runs for office of presidency always makes claims that I'm going to do this and that when I get elected. But there are some things the president which has a lot of power, probably the most powerful office in the world. But at the same time, there are limitations. A little thing called Congress, and another little thing called the court system. Those cannot disrupt the best laid plans. So he's going to try, and he's already trying to meet the expectations that his campaign raised. He's already working on the Ukrainian situation, the war there. He's already working on the economy and other aspects that he has campaigned about. Cleaning up the government, for one thing. So I'm going to repeat basically my opinion at the time. This was Monday. This is the kind of reporting where they're talking about panic and anger and uncertainty is not the kind of reporting that we need. It doesn't serve anyone. It may serve the it may serve the liberal agenda, but it doesn't serve the people of the United States. they being the media, are either creating or stirring the pot. Of course, people that the tariffs are being placed upon will be upset. And I was referring here to the tariffs. We have the trade war, and that may evolve. But I've noticed that both Canada and Mexico are already reacting in a conciliatory mode. They know where, uh, how will you say this? They know which side of the bread is buttered, and they know what is best for them. And what is best for them is a happy United States. If we are happy with our relationship with them, then they're going to be happy. And that's true for Mexico, and that's true for Canada. So that is something that uh, that as far as the trade war is concerned, that is where I am. I'm sticking right there. I think that the president is spot on, and I think that it's going to have some very beneficial impacts on actually all three countries, Canada, Mexico, and the United States. Now, one of the things that brought up in the article was that Canada is going to lay a counter tariff, or was. The tariffs have been paused temporarily since then, but they were going to do it on $155 billion in trade. Well, folks, for you and me, our pocketbooks, that's a lot of money. But for the United States government, that's better be called, I think you could call that pocket change, maybe a little bit more than pocket change, but not much more. The government works in trillions of dollars, not billions. And so $155 billion in trade is not that much. When you're talking about nations dealing with other nations and trade balances, our trade balances are far greater. The deficits that we have, the ongoing, we're to the point where we're paying interest, just interest, if I understand it correctly. And so 155 billion, it is a small portion of what that is. Now, what we do in trade with them, sending what they bring out, or they buy from us and so forth, I believe is in excess of 155. It is interesting that the media didn't say how much Canada Canada does with us in the sense of what they bring into their country. They're just talking about, well, we send you 155 billion. I think the amount that we send them is actually greater, but the media didn't think that was important, so they didn't report on it. And then I talked about the 51st state. I think you can lay that one to rest. I don't see it happening. It takes a whole lot more than just the President of the United States. You do have the Canadian people themselves. I think they like their government. There's not an open rebellion. There are disputes. There are the government has its problems and has areas that needs to be improved upon. But I don't think that any one of them would seriously consider being the 51st state of the United States. Kind of interesting, to say the least. But I don't see it happening. So on Tuesday, we looked at the war in the Ukraine. And at that point in time, Ukraine was losing ground. And I pointed out that that's not unusual. About this time of year, it always seems to be that Russia mounts an attack, has some initial gains, disaster is looming for Ukraine, and then Ukraine stiffens. Ukrainians say, okay, you've come this far, you're not going any further. And they stop them. First of all, it's a stalemate. And then slowly, ever so slowly, the slow train of supplies from the United States arrives. And when they arrive, the Ukrainians have a way of taking them, modifying them a little bit for their country, and they're able to push the Russians back and regain all the territory lost, either all of it or most of it, and we're back to the status quo. And in some cases, the Ukraine in the past has been able to launch attacks. I believe it was last year when they went in and actually seized land from Russia, and they're still there. And so, who knows what's going to happen this year? Uh, Russia has a way, even though they have a numerical superiority and claim to have material superiority, not only in numbers but in quality, they have a way of just frittering it away. Whatever advantages they have, they surrender. Mostly because of incompetence, poorly trained, and things of this nature. So the difference this year is, what is the United States going to do? And to be honest with you, I don't think anybody knows other than Trump. But it does appear that he's letting both sides know that the negotiation table is the only way to go. He promised in his campaign he was going to bring it to an end. Well, that seems to be the only way that you can, unless you drop a bomb on Moscow, and I don't see that happening. Um, that would actually start World War III. So that would not be the way to go. I think that he's going to get them to the negotiating table. The Ukraine has some leverage now. They have Russian land under their control. And they can say, we'll give that land back to you, but you got to do this, this, and this. And that's just not just retreating. They need to be able to get out of Russia a commitment that will be enforced by the United States government and the European governments. Namely, that they will never attack Ukraine again. Now, Russia might agree to that. The question is not whether they will agree so much as to whether it can be enforced, because they made this kind of an agreement in the past and then broke it as soon as it became convenient. So I think that Trump will certainly try to get the two sides, first of all, to the table, and then get a negotiated agreement. And I think that this, again, I'm speculating, but in my opinion, I'm thinking that Trump, he knows the history of what's happened over there in Ukraine. A lot of war crimes were committed. And I think those have to be dealt with. And the chief criminal in all this is a guy by the name of Putin. And whether they can get him out of there or not, it's going to have to take, I think, the Russian people themselves deciding enough is enough and removing him from office. But whether they have the strength, the will to do that, it remains to be seen. Maybe there's some kind of a treat, reward, or whatever that the United States could dangle out there for them. And if you'll get rid of Putin, maybe we'll restore some kind of trade with you. Maybe we'll do this. Maybe we'll do that. I'm just waiting to see if that happens, because I think that deep down inside, the Russian people are kind of fed up. Now, how much of the truth they have at their disposal, I don't know. I know there's such a thing as Radio Free Europe, and they broadcast into Russia, but Russia I think they can block that signal. And so they may only be getting the message that the Russian government wants them to get. And so if that's all they're getting, then it might be a while before Putin is removed. But if the truth is getting in there, then that changes the whole story. So I think it's very significant that President Trump has not stopped military aid to the Ukraine. So I expect that to continue and eventually help Ukraine reclaim the initiative. And I do agree with the idea of going to start talking, and I think that Ukraine has some very powerful. Not only do they have Russian land under their control, but they have shown an ability to demonstrate initiative and to go into Russian territory and battle them one-on-one, even though they're outnumbered. So, uh, let's see. Some of this I've covered in previous. I'm not going to cover it today. The trade war. The Europeans are nervously watching the current state of affairs between the United States, Mexico, and Canada, and so they're watching that. And there is that pause now in effect. So we'll see how things work there. Greenland came up, talked about that. I don't really expect us to go in and take Greenland. I think this is a bargaining chip that President Trump has put out there, and it's got them talking. And I think that was the purpose. On Wednesday, we talked about a new thing that came up, and that's here in this area, the Sunseeker Resorts is for sale. And there are possibility of them selling by summertime at least a majority of interest in that business. And a follow-up on Thursday, which I did not report on, the more on Sunseeker, and that is expected that the current staffing will remain the same. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But it did bring out the fact that they had a good, somewhat good fourth quarter. It was disrupted in October by Hurricanes Helene and Milton, and Milton did a number on the Sunseeker, and they're still recovering from that. And so that is something. But other than that, they've had some good, would have been a good quarter if it hadn't been for that. And in the first quarter, which they're in the midst of, it's been going good. So things are seeming to be on the upswing there. And so that might be attractive to some investors. We talked about the education department and the fact that it's under scrutiny, and the Trump administration may very well gut it. They may leave portions of it, or they may do away with the whole thing. It has not served this country well. It pushes a liberal agenda, and like I said, it just hasn't served us well because of that. The DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion lawsuit that came about to try to stop the Trump administration, who's trying to do away with the DEI and get back to some reasonable laws. Somebody recently came out this past week really saying, oh, you're all misinterpreting the DEI. It's really a good thing. And they went on to listen what they thought was good. Well, the problem with the DEI is that it sounds good on paper. It doesn't work. And what it's doing is going, the biggest problem is it goes against God's word. When they say diversity, read LBJ, I always get that wrong. Read the gay community. That's what that's all about. It's not about people of a different religion, although they say it is. It's not about people with different color of skin, although they say it is. It's almost entirely about the gay community. And so this is being brought to, this was actually, I equated it to woke. And when people go in and blackmail companies, and if you don't do this, we're going to pull our business out, or we're going to, and so that seems to be dying down. People are getting wise to it, and are fighting and they're getting rid of some of their woke policies, which is good. Project 2025 being taken a look at, and this is something that was in an issue in the election. They keep bringing it up, but the thing is, as I pointed out, the things that they list in there predate Project 2025. These are issues that were already on the table. So, but basically, what Project 2025 did was bring all these conservative issues to the forefront and put them together in a package. So, but Trump has kept hands off on that. He has brought in people into his administration who were involved with it, and some of his policies are in line with it. But not because it's Project 2025, it's because they're conservative policies which he happens to favor, and which, by the way, I do. On Thursday, we talked, once again, we revisited the resurrection. We talked about fraud or truth, and went into that, and I used this book right here. So I'll show it to you in a moment here. So right here, and I've encouraged you to get your own copy if you can. You can get this by writing to P.O. Box 1089. That's P.O. Box 1089, Haines City. That's Haines City, Florida 33845. And ask it for Many Infallible Proofs. I don't know if they still publish it or not. I've had this for a number of years, so but that's the way. If you want a copy, that's where you go. So, if you like this channel, then why not? Right down below here, you have the opportunity to subscribe to the channel and get it on a regular basis, coming right to your channel. And or you can also follow me and have it receive notifications in your email. Whichever way you go is an encouragement to me. And when you do that, you not only get Christian news and views, but you get Becoming a Published Author is Fun, which is where I provide free hints, coaching. I coach you. I give advice as to how to do different things. I've been in contact with an independent author recently, in which I was sharing with him some things that would help his book that he's preparing. He's doing it all himself. He's not going through me. He's not going through anybody other than he's dealing with the publisher itself, and doing a good job of it, by the way. And that is always something I've always said. That's the best way. But if you need help, if you need training, if you need to learn how to write and need how to get your book published and get some little marketing help along the way, then this podcast, first of all, is a thing for you, no matter which way you go. But if you are interested in having somebody else teach you and instruct you and guide you, then Basic Authors Training is the way to go. But Becoming a Published Author is Fun is free to anybody who wants to watch it. It's aimed at Christians who are in the writing business, and it's, like I said, it's free. One of the things you do when you subscribe or even follow me is that you encourage me. You encourage me to do three basic things, really. One is to inform you. The second one is to encourage you. We all need encouragement. And to inspire you. And if I can accomplish any one of those three, I'm excited. That excites me, and I hope it would excite you and intrigue you. But the thing is that I am grateful when you let me into your home to provide some of my knowledge to you, and that I can give out and give it for free. And this is knowledge that you don't have to wait until some day when you have lots of money that you can put it to use. This is information you can use now. Most of it is free. Sometimes there might be something that might cost you a little bit of money here or there. But basically it's free, and for you to use. I don't charge you. I give it out on that podcast for free. And you'll never get a bill from me for that. But I hope and I pray that it is beneficial to you. Well, that's it for today. And I will see you in the next episode.